So, Sprinto,
Mm-hmm.
compliance and security.
Mm-hmm.
Look, that really makes my eyes, pins in the eyes about that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're going, okay, let's make websites and software as a service companies compliant with every rule in the world, um, including GDPR, Canada, America, Australia, um, yeah, Lithuania, I don't know. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality was that you are going to take on regulation, compliance, and security from every country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where did this idea come from?
Yeah, like having said that, we wanted to do something more exciting. This is probably the most
Exciting. Okay.
boring, unsexy business to pick, but I honestly feel it's really, really exciting, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
uh,
Cool.
so one of the things that happened while we were running RecruiterBox is that we had to become compliant, because we were a
Right.
global business.
Okay.
We had to become compliant with this framework like SOC 2, GDPR, etc. If you remember, 2017 was when GDPR was sort of
Yep.
becoming the law. And so we sort of went through that wave, and as engineers, these things fell onto our laps. These things usually will fall into the laps of whoever's managing engineering in the company. And I don't think it was a very pleasant experience. We sort of went through this process where we hired a consultant. The person spent about 6 months in the company. We sort of just cannibalized a bunch of other projects that we had in a pipeline to make space for this. We bend over backward to try and get this done. At the end of the whole thing, it was a painful thing. Like we didn't even get it done properly. So it was one of those things where we realized that, hey, this ought to be a lot more better. And it's important that the reason you're doing these things is not necessarily because you want to, but because you're made to. So
Yep.
the way these compliances work is that it's a reality of the business. You have to abide by these laws like GDPR, or your customers asking you for these compliances like SOC 2. So though they sound like they are related to information security, which I don't blame you for thinking it's boring. The real reason you're actually doing it is for revenue, right? Because if you don't do these things, you don't exist as a business, and you can't actually close the deals that you want to close. So the
And
real
and
reason to
and,
do this is a
and the government governments can come after you, and lawyers can come after you. Yeah.
yeah, in some cases it's the governments who are going to come after you. In some cases your customers are just going to say that, I can't do business with you unless you have these things,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
it's
Yep.
business software. So in both cases it just simply means that this is this is actually a revenue driver more than a security program.
Okay. Yep.
And that's where it starts becoming interesting, because that was my outlook to it when we were running RecruiterBox, and we realized that's where it becomes interesting, because people really want this. And the current way of doing this is extremely painful. It takes months. It takes resources away from the most probably the expensive team in your company, which is probably engineering. And it at the end of the whole thing, you still don't have the certainty that it'll get done. And what if we could automate this thing, get you there in days instead of months, make the effort? So we actually reduce the effort by more than 1/10, and help you get these things done without making it sound like you're going through a root canal. So that's the that's the thing about Sprinter. So that's what gets me out of the bed every morning. I actually have been through that pain before, and I think it's, while we do the boring unsexy work, the outcomes of that are really monumental for the customers that we work with.